Hello. Okay.
Aaron.
All right, good evening. I will call to order our Tuesday, July 22nd work session. Ms. Peters Garcia, will you take the roll?
Yes. Mayor Robert Oxmacher,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Luke Wagner,
Here.
Councilmember Jeremy Holt,
Here.
Councilmember Bill Jenkins, Councilmember Lisa Lake. Here.
Very well. Four are present. Council Member Jenkins is on approved leave, and we were not expecting him today. Been waiting for this one all month. International.
You did warn us.
All right. Very well. Who do we have presenting this evening, Director Robinson? Mr. Weber, welcome.
Is that on now? There we go. Thank you. I know you have a busy night tonight. I've seen the agenda, so we'll try to get through this. I'm Russ Weber, building official. I was talking a little bit ago. I've had some interesting, I looked up some interesting things tonight, before I get going on this. We started contracting and partnering with the town of Timnath in 2001. And in 2001, your population was 684. And today it's just over 12,000. So that's according to Google. But I thought that was interesting. We're going to be celebrating our 25th partnership with you guys next year. So I'm looking forward to that. So tonight, I want to give a quick presentation on the 24 international codes that we have worked. And as I get going on this, stop me at any time. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And we'll get through this as quickly as possible. We've been meeting since last December with all of Northern Colorado. So we put a team together of Larimer County, Fort Collins, Loveland, Johnstown, Wellington, Greeley, Weld County. Weld County kind of stepped out. They decided they're not going to adopt the 24 codes. So they're going to stay with the codes that they're on. Historically, we skip a code cycle, and you'll hear me talk a little bit about that tonight. We are on the 2018 international codes currently, and we skipped the 21 codes for some good reasons. But we are proposing the 21 codes to be adopted and enforceable, hopefully January 1 of 2026. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me and raise your hand. So these are the international codes that we're looking at. Building codes, property maintenance codes, fuel gas codes. There are some state codes that we can't make amendments to. Currently, right now, there are, well, coming up quickly, there's a state electrical code and there's a state plumbing code. Those we can't make amendments to. We can make amendments to them, but they have to be a higher standard rather than a lower. So some of the new codes that we're going to talk about tonight are also state codes that we cannot make amendments to. And those are going to be the 24 Energy Code, the Solar Ready Code, the EV Ready, and the Colorado Electric Ready. So these are all done and adopted through House and Senate bills down in Denver. So municipalities are required to enforce these codes. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. I have looked into all of our home rule municipalities, and there's no flexibility in being a home rule. You still have to abide by it. One that I'm going to talk about tonight first is the Energy Code. The reason that we skipped the 21 codes and what the state of Colorado said that anybody that adopts a new building code as of 2023, which you guys were on the 2018, anybody that adopts a new building code after, I believe it was May of 2023, you're mandated to adopt the 21 Energy Code. We didn't do that. And we did that for some special reasons. The 21 Energy Code raised building construction cost about $3,600. It was shortly after pre-COVID, after COVID, I mean, and it wasn't a good time and it was not sensible. So we skipped the 21 codes, and that's why we're here today in front of you with the 24 codes. As you see on the slide, some of the changes that were made from the 18 to the 24 are very minimal. So prior to this code, if we would have adopted the 21 Energy Code, if you look at the ceiling R value, the 21 Energy Code wanted a R60. So we felt that was a little extreme. Again, we pushed to not adopt the 21 and wait until the 24 came out. It stayed the same. The only difference that you'll see in there that builders, probably 40% of them already comply with this table, some don't, is the wood framed R value. So prior to that, it was either an R13 plus 5 exterior, an R20 in the cavity. Now it's going to be an R20 plus a 5 continuous. That CR means continuous insulation. So what we'll see in the construction is we'll see the same wall cavities, same insulation, but they'll end up having to put an R5 sheeting on the exterior of the walls. So that's really the only difference that is from the 24 Energy Code from the 18 codes. And again, this is a state code, so we can't make many amendments to it. The IECC, there's also, you're going to hear me talk about solar ready. What that is going to mean is that every home is going to have a certain square footage of roof with no penetrations that mess with the solar panels. They don't have to put the solar panels on, but they have to have a space for them. Again, the R49, the 24 Energy Code is very flexible, and I really like it because there's some requirements in it that give you benefits. So if you have a high energy hill truss and you can get an R38 completely over the exterior wall, then you meet the R49 requirement. Builders do that already. What that high energy looks like is something like this. So you'll see a high energy hill. If you can get blown in insulation to an R38 over the exterior wall, that satisfies the R49. So that really helps in the construction costs as well and still meets the Energy Code provisions. Habitable spaces, this is, the Energy Code is getting very closer to what we enforce today on commercial and what you have in this place. All permanently installed luminaries and habitable spaces shall be controlled with a manual dimmer or with an automatic shut-off. So basically, excuse me, you're going to start to see homes with occupancy sensor switches in it, but they can also turn them off manually. The government doesn't trust us to turn our lights off. So that's kind of where this is going. Another benefit to this one is we're seeing a lot of apartments. We're seeing a lot of multifamily. The unit sampling allows for not every unit to be sampled. What you're going to see in the Energy Code, and we do it today, every house today is required to have a blower door testing. We want to make sure that the thermal envelope is sealed in such a way that it meets the blower door test of pressure so that it's not leaking. That's required under the 18 Energy Code. One of the differences is going to be the duct blaster test. So the duct testing is now going to be required. It used to be under the 18, it was required only if the ducts left the conditioned space. So if your ducts were in your house and they were in the basement and still inside the thermal envelope, it didn't make sense to test them because if they leaked, they were still inside where you're keeping the energy. So now it's going to be required regardless. If you have ducts that go outside the envelope, meaning they could go over a garage to catch a bedroom upstairs, those are leaving the thermal envelope, and now everything's going to have to be basically duct tested. Not a huge thing for the builders. We see a lot of energy logic. A lot of companies today, Thermal Concepts, they're already in tune with a high quality of construction right now. So we're not going to see that make a huge impact on any of the building. The energy code still allows for 3 methods, which is really good. You can either do the simulated building performance, which is res check. Most of the builders use a res check or they use an energy rater. The res check is a UA trade-off. It's a program software that's designed by the Department of Energy. It's a free software. If you want to do your own house, it's free to download on the internet, departmentofergy.gov. And you can run your own house, and you'll want to put your U factor. You seal the thermal envelope. You say what your R value is in the walls and the ceilings, and then there's a button that says check compliance. And that check compliance will either say, hey, you're better than 2% of the national average, or you could be in the minus. And if you do that, then you've got to go back in and manipulate the program and say, well, how about if I upgrade my windows and put a 0.29 U factor on those windows? So there's a way to manipulate the res check to make it work. Prescriptive, we don't see much of, but basically prescriptive is going right off of the energy code. So when you submit for a permit, we don't see much of it because you've got to submit what's your U factor on your windows, what kind of assembly are you using for your walls, manual D, manual J, manual S that I'll talk about a little bit more. And then there's the HERS rating. So these are all 3 that are still the same as the 2018. I'm going to guess today that 30 to 40% of our builders, they want a HERS rating, and they do that for marketing purposes. It could be a little bit higher than that. I'm just throwing that number out. I know it's at least 35% or 40% of the builders. So not a whole lot has changed there. As for the cost increase, there was a survey done by the Home Builders Association across the country. And the 2018 IEC, like I stated, and the 21, it increased cost $3,500 just because of all the things that they wanted you to do. And the 21 IEC to the 24, they're actually saying it's decreasing the cost $3,600. Don't get me wrong, that the cost of construction with this code is still going to increase because of the electric ready and the solar ready. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Again, we're moving into a world where they don't want fossil fuel. They don't want, gas ranges, gas furnaces, and gas water heaters. Again, these codes come out every 3 years. So that could change. In the 27, when the 27 codes come out, they could decide this didn't do a whole lot. So right now, it's a state code. So all new buildings must have provisions for all electric operating, including heating. So basically, if you put a gas furnace in your house, you have to have a space and you have to have it ready for an electric furnace as well. So any appliance that you have, again, these are state codes. So if you want to have a gas range, you have to wire for one. You want a gas dryer, you still have to wire for one. So any appliance that is gas, you still have to make sure that it's wired for it. This is going to be true for electric vehicles. You don't have to have the EV charger in the garage, but you have to have a space for it in the panel. What that's going to do is it's probably going to increase our main panels from 150 amp to a 200 amp. So whether you use that 200 amps or not, you're going to have it available to the homeowner. Again, this is kind of, I'm going to speed through some of this because I know we have a short amount of time, but basically it's just saying what I just talked about. If you have a gas water heater, you need to pre-wire for an electric water heater, and same for a furnace. There's some exceptions, obviously, fireplaces, exterior fire pits, things of that nature. There are some exceptions to it. Solar ready. Again, they're not asking you to put solar panels on every house, but they're making sure that your electrical panel has space for the solar electrical circuits, and your roof has the space for it. So, you need 300 square feet of solar ready, meaning you can't have plumbing vents and V vents and things going through it so that it's available to the homeowner. Again, not less than 40% of the roof area. The exception, dwelling in commercial buildings with a permanently installed or site renewable energy system, meaning if you already had something that had geothermal, then you get an exception to the code. All new buildings shall have provisions for charging electrical vehicles. EV-ready space is a location with a receptacle no further than 3 feet away, minimum 40 amp breaker. So again, without going through all of these, in the packet, I believe that Mr. Robinson copied this EV-ready. Was that part of the packet that I sent you? It was included in the presentation.
It's not as part of the council packet, but it will be included
Okay.
in the future.
These are, what I did was I sent Scott this. It's all the provisions that you're going to see in the amendments that I'm going to propose in the ordinance. So again, we can't make many changes to it, but it's good for you guys to know what's in it. Yeah. Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code, another state mandated code. This was driven by the Superior Marshall Fire. We're not proposing to adopt that with this codes, with this ordinance. The state has extended that all municipalities have 9 months after the state has adopted it to adopt this code. And so now, right now, we have until April 1st of 2026. So you will see this coming back in front of the board. The reason that I feel, and all municipalities up north, other than I believe Larimer County and Fort Collins, because they're already have adopted this wildfire code naturally. They're in the mountains. But this is going to, we need to be more clear, and I want to work with the planners and the community development directors on how we're going to enforce and apply this, because it's going to involve planners. If somebody wants to build a house in this wildlife map. So, and I put this in here so that you can go in there, type your own address in there, and you'll see where you're located. But if you fall into the orange or the red, there's special provisions that have to be made. You can't have trees within 8 feet of your house or shrubs. Your siding must be non-combustible. There's an opportunity that it could be 1 hour material under it. So openings in your roof need to be protected from ambers. So this, again, is a state code. I'm waiting to have a separate ordinance for this, a standalone ordinance, because there could be changes to it before April 1st. And also this gives us time to better understand it, how we're going to review it, how planners are going to review it, and how we're going to enforce it. So it's a little more complex, and that's why I feel that we shouldn't be adopting it. So currently right now, our proposal is not to adopt it, and I have agreement from Wellington, Timnath, hopefully Timnath, Severance, Windsor. They've all agreed that we need to get a little bit more information on this one before we send it into an ordinance. So something to think about. With that, we'll go into the IRC. The IRC is the International Residential Code. So the residential code applies to 1, 2, and 3 family dwelling units and townhomes. So if you have a residence that is separated from foundation to roof, nothing one on top of each other except for a duplex, it's regulated out of this code. There were a lot of things that changed in this 24, but 75% of the things that changed from the 18 to the 24 were sections of the code that modified an existing code for clarification. It made us easier. Anybody that has done this, and I've been a commercial and residential inspector since 1993. I taught the building code in Front Range Community College for 10 years. Interpretation is everything in these codes. You can read a code, but we strive to do our best on why was that code put in there and what's the true interpretation of why it's in there. That's what matters. This is a section that has always been in the International Building Code. We've used it. New products come out every year, whether it's siding, whether it's plumbing fixtures. And they've added this ER report now to the IRC, which was always in the IBC, and we've used it before. But what it does is the International Code Council has required a testing service, whether that's ICC, whether that's another testing agency. They verify that the product meets a certain code requirement in the IRC. And so this is a new provision. As long as somebody wants to install a new product in their new house or in a basement, it doesn't matter, and they have this report and they install it exactly like the report, we're going to accept it. If it's not installed exactly like it was tested, then we won't accept it. What this does is we have a separate form called an AMMR, and it's been in the building code and now it's in the IRC. It's called it's an alternate means and methods. So like I said, new products come out all the time. And a good example of it is when we adopted the 2018 codes, any I-joists, which everybody uses today, you can only have 80 square feet of unprotected I-joists in your basement. And this was driven by the fire department. The fire departments across the country said in the event of a fire, the floor is so combustible that collapse on their firefighters before they can get the floor out. So the code in 2018 says, well, you only get 80 square feet of unprotected openings, meaning your utility room. We know that they understand that there's so many pipes and ducts and stuff there that it's going to be hard to protect it. But everything else has to be protected. So what builders did is a product came out called No Burn. And so what people use is they spray the underneath side of their basement. All builders use it today. And it's a no burn product. And it has an ES report to it. And as long as they apply it with certain temperature conditions and a certain thickness, which we get a report on, it's an alternate means and methods. And this is good for everyone because now we can have this documented that they have a new product, it's been tested and we've approved it. So that's what this form does. Climatic and geographic design criteria. This is a new, we always had the top line in the IRC, but not the lower lines. So with the energy code, there's 3 things that every builder has to comply with, and that's Manual J, Manual D, and Manual S. All of those are S is the system, D is the duct, and J is basically the heating and cooling loads. So again, this is all part of the energy code. We've already been enforcing this since we've been enforcing it since the 2012, really. It started in the 2012, but it's getting a little bit more detailed in the 2024. Wind speed conversions. Safe Built for the last 20 years have donated to CSU. CSU, every 8 or 9 years, they do a new wind study. Because as you can see in the map, if you look at Colorado, you see that black hashed out area right along the foothills. That's a special wind region. We've always been in it because they cannot put a wind design along the foothills. It varies so much. So this has been in the code for 25 years. So they classify us as a special wind region. So the only way that we can design commercial and residential buildings is to know what wind speed we want to use. So what CSU did 7 or 8 years ago is they put sensors all along the Front Range, all along I-25 and out east, and they measured the wind speed. And they came up with I-25 as the marker. So I-25 and east is 115 mile an hour ultimate design wind speed. What this conversion does is it bases it on the exposure category. So the exposure category is, we've always been an exposure B, but now they've changed it. Now it can be site specific. They'll have a B, C, and a D. And what that means that a B means that you're in a neighborhood that already has some blockage, maybe some homes, maybe some buildings, something else. You don't take a direct hit from the wind. An exposure C you're limited in how many buildings you have. And then D means you're in the plains. You have no blockage. You're taking a direct hit from the wind. So all of these are now in the IRC, and it's really a good tool. There's a new tool if you ever want to go onto it. It's ASCE7 Hazard Tool. It's free to use. You can go online, type in your address. You'll have to know a little bit. You'll have to know your category. And I'll talk a little bit about that here shortly, 1, 2, 3, and 4. But you'll have to know that to get what your projected wind speed is. We have not seen historically, and that's what these codes are based on. We have not seen a historical problem in any of our communities that houses have blown down, that have had disastrous or catastrophic failure. So we're leaving the wind speed as it is, 115 mile an hour. If you use the exposure category, you can get it down to a 90 mile an hour, 3-second gust. It's the same as we've had today, and we're not seeing any difference. The more we want to raise that number, the more hold down devices, the more expensive construction gets. And I get it, because trust me, I was building official in 2008 when the tornado came through. And there were some things that we saw in construction that very much helped flying debris, portal framing around garages. All of that, every time you raise the wind speed, it makes it more expensive for people to build their homes. We have not seen a historical problem. We're going to leave it at 115. This is new to the code. Normally, when you go through and you see a duplex, they're almost always side by side. But a lot of things, builders are now getting innovative, and they want to stack them. So the code has now addressed it. It's got a special section that says if you want to put a unit above the other, you can still do it. But now we have a section to enforce. So again, by the way things are changing in construction and the innovation in building, the codes have adapted to it and they're making our life easier, because now we can say, oh, you can do that. Here's what you got to do. Before, a duplex side by side was still either a 2-hour wall separation or 2 1-hour walls. So now they just have provisions for when you stack them. This is a new one in the code as well, and you're going to see why as I get into the IBC. But I took classes in the ICC 500 provisions for storm shelter in 2010 after the tornado, thinking, oh, people may be wanting tornado shelters. It didn't happen. There's probably a few. But now this is in the IRC. If you want to have a storm shelter, there's provisions to submit, plan review, construct it, and inspect it. Does anybody have a storm shelter? Does anyone have one? No? Sleeping lofts are a new section of the code. Again, builders are they're getting innovative in the way their floor plans look. And prior to the 24, this was not in there, and ladders were not allowed as a means of egress. They are now, but they're limited. They're limited on the space up there, and they have regulations for the ladder. So good things. I mean, I think this code is being very flexible about new things that are coming. Solar energy, another big one. People want to use these as standalone patio covers, and we've seen a few of them. When they're only supported by the framing of them, there's some special requirements for it. So they've seen things like this that have happened across the country, and they add them into the code. Lead content of drinking water. Again, this is it's been a health study for quite some time, and the EPA has always said, well, you can't have more than 8% of lead in any of your fixtures and that kind of stuff in your fittings. They've now lowered it to 0.25. So they've gotten very serious about allowing lead to be used, and manufacturers know this. So this is just something that if we ever found somebody wasn't performing the way they should, we could stop them and write them up. Now the IBC, how am I looking on time? I'm good. So the IBC is commercial. This is an interesting one. 105.2 in both the IBC and the IRC always lists fences as exempt from needing a permit if they're less than 6 foot tall, if they're 6 foot tall or less. But we've had situations and across the country where people put a pool barrier around a pool and they don't get a permit for it, and it doesn't meet the requirements of a pool barrier. Pool barriers have always been enforceable in the code. When it comes to small children getting in a pool and drowning, we take that very seriously, and there are sections of the code that we address it. Now it says fences used as pool barriers are not exempt from needing a permit. This, again, it just gives us a better way of saying, hey, you didn't get a permit for that fence. What they don't want in pool barriers is they don't want horizontal members that kids can use as climbing. They can put their feet in it. So there's provisions that say, hey, you're limited to 1 3/4 inches on a chain link fence so that kids can't get their feet in there and climb. The height of the latch. So there's a lot of things that go into a pool barrier that I think now the code has addressed and said any pool barrier requires a permit so that we can review it. Lithium-ion batteries. I know that you've had some in Wild Wing. We've had a fire in Wild Wing on a lithium-ion batteries, burned the house seriously. This now addresses it not only in residential, it's in the fire code as well. And our fire codes, I've been working with Sean, but the fire codes with the 24 codes that I believe you're looking at tonight, they mesh, and they're a family. So our provisions that I'm talking to you about tonight are also in the fire code. So Sean and I have worked together to make sure that there's no conflict of the codes. But again, things like this, lithium-ion batteries, storage of them and the use of them, you can't use water. I mean, there's some provisions in there that they've added for the safety of not only the building of construction, but of the occupants, how they're stored. Again, the allowance for a single exit from an occupiable roof. Before, you were required in the IBC to have 2 exits. Now, there's some provisions in here that as long as you meet all of the provisions of 1006.3, you can have 1 single exit. Again, this is all generated from innovation in floor plans. Builders have said, well, my customer wants this, why can't I do that? So that's where these codes come from. Locking arrangements and educational occupancies. We all know that that's been an issue. I was just telling her that right now we do a lot of school inspections, and all the schools now have these lockdown devices where all somebody has to do, whether at the front of the school or in the classroom, they can automatically lock down all the doors in there to where you can still get out, but nobody can get in. Sad world we live in, but these are in the codes now. So keep in mind, this IBC is commercial. So for educational classrooms, it's the safety of our children. Power operated doors. They've now distinguished when you need to have power operated doors. They don't have to be on every building, but anything with an occupant load of greater than 300 in an A occupancy and more than 500 in a B, M, or an R1. The environmental loads. So environmental loads, what we're talking about is snow, wind, rain, seismic, and now we have a new one, tornado loads. These are all driven by the risk category, and I'll explain that to you. The risk categories are 1, 2, 3, and 4. And a 1 is an agricultural. So they're designed, and that building can blow down and hurt some animals and not a huge thing, That's how the code feels. Category 2 is our residence. So every single family home is designed under the loading requirements of a category 2. A category 3 is a little bit different. It's got ambulatory, hospitals. An easy way to explain this is that buildings that need to be in place in the event of a natural disaster are designed a little bit differently. Our police stations, our fire stations, our hospitals, Those are all designed in a certain category that we want to make sure if we ever got a 130-mile-an-hour wind coming through here or a tornado, those buildings are most likely standing because we need them. So that's what this does. The newest piece of that is the tornado load. And now this is new to the IBC. If you look at it, Timnath is in the tornado prone region. Yeah, so it could happen. The tornado in 2008 was on the ground for 43 miles. It dropped down in Gilcrest, hit Windsor, and it hit just east of Timnath, and it went all the way to Wellington. So it was on the ground for 43 minutes. It could happen. So again, data is what drives these codes. And if the possibility exists for a tornado in Timnath, you have to design for it. Now, these designs are only for commercial buildings, not for residential. That was quick. I hope I didn't go too fast, but I know you guys were on a time crunch. I'm open to any questions. There are no dumb questions. If you have anything at all you want to ask me. One thing that I know of that Mr. Robinson had asked me about was impact resistant shingles. So that was one of the topics. That this is your code. We don't have a state building code so that you can make amendments to the code in any way, shape, or form. What I recommend, and I tell people in the years that I've been doing it, is that the building codes are minimum standards. They've always been minimum standards. Builders normally exceed what's in this book. So, I mean, there's a lot in this book. Builders exceed what's in here. This is minimum standards. So if you guys want to increase that to impact resistant shingles, you have the opportunity to do that. I like to keep a minimum. If somebody wants to put impact resistant shingles on, they're more than welcome to. I live in Windsor. I've lived in Windsor for 30 years, and I've asked my insurance company, I don't see a difference in my policy with impact resistant shingles. Right now, the IRC and the IBC has certain grade of shingles, of asphalt shingles. There's 25-year, which we don't allow here because they don't meet the wind speed. They have to have a minimum of a 30-year heritage shingle. So any roof in Timnath is going to be a 30, a 35, or a 50-year roof. And obviously what that means is the shingles get thicker so they can withstand more hail and lose some granules and still be sufficient to work. So that's really the town's call, not my code. I only make recommendations to you, but that was one that Scott brought up to me, was impact resistant shingles. I know that Larimer County and Fort Collins do require them. Yep.
Questions, Jeremy? You?
No, I think you kind of answered it there at the end. I mean, I'd be in support of the impact resistant shingles. Being an insurance person, it actually makes a huge impact. Our last house versus our new house that has them on it was a difference of 100%. So I would make that recommendation, especially with the cost driving up. It's going to destroy homes.
Okay.
So just my 2 cents on that. And I think it follows suit with Larimer County and Fort Collins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine homeowners went up 42%, and now I have a wind and hail deductible all by itself. And so she talked 1, 2, and 3% of the value of the house. So I support, maybe if it's not impact, maybe looking at the life of the shingle. So I don't know what that looks like.
Well, and related to that, we moved into Timnath, brand new house that was built in 2012, and we've already had to replace our roof due to hail damage. And then with our new shingles, we got the impact resistant as well. So I don't know if that's common I mean, all my neighbors who have needed to do something have gone in that direction.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
So.
Yeah. So would that be obviously any new construction? So would require it, and then any replacement too, right? So,
True.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can make that amendment, is that
Yeah.
we'll just amend that section of the code that says All new and replacement shingles shall be impact resistant. There's a different language for it, but it'll be that.
Right. I mean, and it also keeps, I mean, again, my personal opinion, it keeps the abundance of salespeople trying to pitch you on new roofs on an ongoing basis
Sure.
out of the neighborhoods as well. So
I had an interesting call last Friday from a homeowner in Harmony that said that in his insurance policy, we talked for about an hour, that is his new insurance policy had had a line item that said building code updates, which was interesting to me. So that was one that he opted not to do it, but basically it said any building code updates, your insurance policy would cover that as well.
yeah.
The only changes that I've seen in building code updates for roofs was in the 2018, 2012, when the code started requiring drip edge. So drip edge came in on new roofs in 2012. Again, that was one that I received a lot of calls on saying, is it required? My insurance company doesn't want to pay for it. And it's like, it's required. And then they paid for it. So, but that was interesting to me to hear that he's got a line item now that says building code updates. Yeah. The only place that I think that could come into play is with this energy code. So if you were to say you got a severe hailstorm and you had to replace all your siding, now you got to do an R5 on the outside. So that could come into play because the energy code does stipulate that siding re-roofs, if you're siding more than 50% of the house, you've got to meet the requirements of the energy code. So that could come into play. If you had that policy, they would pay for the R5 insulation. So.
So in terms of the state mandated changes, are those things that are already in effect because the legislature has passed them, or are those things that the legislature has dictated we need to adopt?
We have to adopt them, but what this legislation says is that when you adopt a new building code, which we are in the process of, you have to adopt these along with it. So we're proposing to fully adopt this all in northern Colorado and have it enforceable January 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our only state deadline, or there is none other than if you adopt a new code, you
Yeah.
then need to implement that.
There might be, if you don't adopt, there may be a deadline, a drop dead deadline, but right now the legislation says when you adopt a new building code, you have to adopt the energy and the electric ready and the solar ready.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll be in compliance if these are all part of this code adoption and we're enforcing it on January 1. And then the Colorado Wildfire Code will come before you again after we get some more clarification on how it's going to be enforced. So you'll see that before April 1st.
And I believe the wildfire, that is mandated to be by the
It-
spring.
It's another
We
mandated code
got a
by April 1.
kind of 9-month, I think,
Mm-hmm.
extension on that deadline.
In the wildfire, we have this code update, and then there's also a map that designates different areas as different risk that affects insurance rates primarily. Is that part of this, or is that a separate?
It's going to be separate. I want to leave it out of this and just to get the building codes adopted. And then Scott and I will look at how we're going to enforce, regulate, plan review, the planners. They're going to have to look at commercial properties in this area and I'm not sure how we're going to do that yet. So I want to go into it 100% ready and know what we're going to do. So I feel it's better that we leave it out of this. After this is adopted, that'll give us 4 or 5 months to really look at it and implement it and bring it back to you and explain it.
So aside from the impact shingles, are there any other items that surrounding jurisdictions are contemplating modifying?
So there is. One of them that I've talked to Scott about is some builders already do it, and we've already implemented this provision in Windsor and Severance. All new construction and any warranty work on exterior concrete has to be reinforced. So they either have to use fiber mesh, welded wire, or rebar. And what that does is that concrete's concrete, and I used to say this in my classes teaching, there's two kinds of concrete, one that's cracked and one that's not cracked yet. They all crack. But what the reinforcement does is it keeps them from shifting so that you don't get a tripping hazard. So you'll still get the cracks, but it won't move. And we've been enforcing it now for 3 years in Windsor and 2 years in Severance, and I'm going to propose it here. Only on new construction. If somebody that's been in their house for 10 years, they want to re-pour their patio, they don't need a permit. They can do what they want. This is more security for the buyer. Yep.
So if we implement something like this, let's say we set a date for January 1st. I'm just, throwing one out there. Who does it then impact? Is it, certain builders have already submitted plans? Is it only for new plans that are submitted after that date? Or how do you typically go about? Because obviously there's a wide range of where different developments are in the planning process. So how would that look?
So I can answer that. This happens every code cycle. So what we're going to start to do is we're going to have workshops with the builders this fall, and we're going to let them know the new code changes, excuse me, the new code changes that are coming. Because even when we do this code adoption, I have to get my inspectors up to speed on it and my plans examiners up to speed and the builders. So normally what we do is we give the builders a 6-month grace period. So from it, and this has always been confusing to some elected officials because a house built under the 2018 is no less safe than built under the 24. It's no less safe. There's just new provisions in there. So come January 1, just because somebody didn't do something in the 24, let's just say they submitted a building permit on January 2nd. We reviewed it, stamped it on the 24, but when we go out there, the builder goes, "Oh, you got to be kidding me." We're going to give them some leeway. We're going to say, because it's education for them too. We're going to go out there and say, "Hey, it's a new code provision. You're okay now, but moving forward, this is what the code says." Unless it's an imminent life safety, which is not a piece of the changes in the 24. Those we don't let go. But we do give flexibility to the builders, and we usually give it a 6-month period. We did that when the 2023 NEC was adopted by the state. So we would go out, and one of the provisions in the 23 NEC was that you don't have to have an outlet in your island countertop anymore, but you got to pre-wire for it. So we would go out and do a final. It was stamped 23 codes, and they didn't have it pre-wired. So we would say, "Hey, no more. The next one, you need to do that." And then they all caught on. So.
All right. So Scott, are we targeting this for like a December adoption, or what's our?
No, we're sooner than that. I think what Mr. Weber said is we're targeting sometime before October, ideally. That gives us some time to get into the wildfire code. And so that's our kind of window that we're looking at, is sometime by October.
Okay. Anything else? Webster, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
your
Very
time. I know
informative.
you have a busy evening tonight. Thank you.
Very well. Well, then I think we can adjourn here so that folks can stop in on the reception real quick, and we'll reconvene at 6.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
I'll give this back to you. Thanks.
And I will forward them that information afterwards. I was just the work session.
I just sent them to you thinking if they had questions, because
No, but
I didn't want to talk about them.
Okay.
I'll clean up
Just try those.
So I'll clean up this. Look at it, make sure it's what you need. Attorney.
We can look at the legal stuff.
Yes. I've already got stuff from everybody going down. There's stuff like this. So we'll look at, you and I can sit down. We'll look at it. Cool. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That was good.
Thinking waited so much on those. Just like this. I know. Well, how old is that?
I loved it. Oh, my mom's son. Well, we run here at the.
Are you just visiting?
Yes, that's a long case. Yeah, his name.
What?
His name.
Oh.
Good, yeah. Yeah, he long, good, very long vacation. Good, you're very good. I like it. We do?
Oh, God, yeah. That's a good thing.
But
Yeah.
nobody sees it there.
I see your energy.
Okay, I'm a very often person. Thank you. I want to see you guys, I hope you do us. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Because you guys are good. See, you always have a girl, Malika. Lady. Okay.
So you
Good place, so, yeah.
You got skills.
Well, you got to people, that's all it's all about, got to be. How I was anything. But it's been a good experience. I just want to say hello. I will promise. I will.
Oh. They usually sit back and listen.
So make sure her dad's. Right here.
Yeah, that's your.
We can take this one and give it to you guys.
But I think she'll be able to see better. from
Okay,
there.
yep.
Grandpa, I think you'll have a good view from right there.
Oh, me.
How many seats do you want to sit?
So is that,
All right, good evening. I will call to order the Tuesday, July 22nd Timnath Town Council meeting. Ms. Peters Garcia, will you take the roll?
Mayor Robert Oxmacher,
Present?
Mayor Pro Tem Luke Wagner,
Here.
Councilmember Jeremy Holt,
Here.
Councilmember Bill Jenkins, Councilmember Lisa Lake.
Here.
All right. 4 council members are present and accounted for. Councilmember Jenkins' absence was pre-planned and expected this evening. Council, any requests to amend the agenda this evening? All right. Seeing none, we will proceed with the agenda. Before we formally begin item 3A, the swearing in of our new police chief, I wanted to take just a brief moment and again thank Lieutenant Donnie Robbins from the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. Lieutenant Robbins has been our acting police chief for the last several months, and I know that Mayor Pro Tem presented a plaque last time. I was on holiday with my family and didn't have the opportunity to participate in that, but Lieutenant Robbins, I really do sincerely appreciate the work that you've given over the last several months. It really has been nice to have a steady hand at the helm. And in your short time, you've made a difference moving things forward, including really excited about the dashboard that you've helped put into place. So thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. All right, our first agenda item today is the swearing in of our new police chief, Lori Scott. Chief, can I invite you to join us here? And Chief, for those that may not know you, and I know that there are a lot of people here in the gallery to support you. A lot of people have come up to me today and just really sang your praises and then accused me of stealing you. So we are really. This is true. This is true. You know, let me begin by saying that the process to bring you here was a grueling process. We had nearly 70 candidates from all over the country, and you were one of our finalists. Universally, everyone who participated in those panels, you know, said this is absolutely the #1 candidate, and this is the person that should be the next police chief in Timnath. And so we are really happy that you're here with us today. On a personal note, you and I have worked together for several years in my capacity in my day job. And I have always found you to be very thoughtful in how you go about your work. I found you to be extremely responsive whenever there was something that needed to be addressed, either from others in the profession or in the community. And I have really appreciated your dedication to transparency and proactive communication. I am not quite sure if you thought this through, because the truth is you're jumping into a very difficult job. You are becoming the police chief in a community with very little crime. You're becoming the police chief in a community with very high public trust in the police department. This is a town that has very solid financials. It is a police department that is well equipped with a brand new police building and you know, well-equipped staff. We offer competitive pay. You already have a great team that you're stepping in to lead, and you have a very, very supportive council. So I guess it can only go bad, right? No, Chief, thank you very much for joining our community here. We are extremely happy to have you, and I really wanted to welcome you. Before I swear you in, is there anything that you'd like to say?
You want me to say it now? I have to get my phone now. I don't normally like cheat at things like this, but I knew tonight would be an emotional night. So, thank you. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the town manager, Aaron Adams, mayor, Axmacher, town council, and everybody that was involved in the chief's process. He's absolutely right. It was a rigorous process, and I'm just grateful to be standing here today. Life is full of twists and turns, unexpected challenges that push us, and hills we have never expected to climb. But through every hurdle, every obstacle, and every accomplishment, I've always tried to hold on to one belief, and that's there is a purpose. Every step, no matter how meaningful, no matter how difficult, is always going to lead us somewhere. For me, I believe my purpose has led me here, to this moment, to this amazing town of Timnath, and to lead the incredible men and women of the Timnath Police Department. And grateful doesn't even cover it right now. I have to thank my family because none of them live in Omaha, or none of them live here in Colorado. You have stood by me through long, crazy nights, missed holidays, special occasions, and some events that I've had to miss entirely. And I know that I would not be here today without everything you have given me, and I would not be standing here today. For all of those, I have two brothers that are back in Omaha that couldn't be here. There's much of a part of this moment as I am. My dad made the trek all the way from Omaha. I don't even know if we can remember the last time he's been on an airplane. With a little help and a little magic of two of my very lifelong friends. And having him here today is priceless. You pinned on my first badge, and I guarantee you this is going to be the last one. So thank you. Thank you for making the extra effort. Thank you for always being my constant. I love you more than words can say. To my niece, Nikki, and her husband, Tyler, they traveled all the way from Arizona. Your love and support mean the world to me as well. And Kat, sister-in-law, newly sister-in-law, all the way from Palm Springs Beach, sorry. China, I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for your steady encouragement, your quiet strength, and your unconditional love. You believed in me when I struggled to believe in myself, and meeting every doubt with calm reassurance. I had many unexpected late-night call-outs, usually because of LCSO, and I didn't know what I needed or when I needed it, but you were always there, showing up, being present, and holding steady. And you have been my solid in every moment of uncertainty. I am endlessly grateful for you each and every single day. To my friends and colleagues, I look around this room and I am stunned. I am stunned by the support all the way from Omaha to Colorado. Thank you. I am overwhelmed by the faces that I look at who have shaped every part of my life and every moment of this time in my profession. From friendships that have began at birth to those that I have forged over the last 4.5 years, you will always hold a place in my story. This profession creates bonds that run deep. Law enforcement is not just a job, it's a calling. It's a family and it's a community. And at this moment, it just reminds me how powerful that connection truly is. Leadership is not just a title, it's a responsibility and it's a privilege. It's about listening, guiding, and being willing to serve those who stand beside you. It's about showing up when it's hard and making the tough decisions with integrity and never forgetting who you're leading and why. I don't take this role lightly, and I will never take it for granted. To the men and women of Timnath, thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your dedication and the heart that you put into this profession. I am incredibly proud to step into this role, not to stand above you, but to stand beside you. We will walk through any challenge and celebrate every accomplishment. And we will do that together. Because that's how we move forward from this day on, side by side, together. So I look forward to the next chapter. I look forward to what lies ahead. And more than anything, I look forward to serving this amazing town of Timnath, working alongside of you to build, to lead, and to serve together. And here we go. It started yesterday, but I can't wait to see where it goes from here. So thank you.
Shall we make this official? You'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Lori Scott,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the state of Colorado and the charter, ordinances, and regulations of the town of Timnath, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of my office or employment. No, faithfully. Cool. Congratulations, Chief. If I can now invite your father to join us. Again, if I can invite council to come down, take a photo. Right, and sincerely thank you, everyone, for coming and supporting Chief Scott. We appreciate it very much. Good.
It's no more fun.
Sorry, Bill's out committing crime.
That's why he couldn't show up. Active warrant.
All right. It's now time for public comment. Ms. Pierce Garcia, has anyone signed up with us this evening? All right, nobody has signed up for public comment this evening. I will note that we do have one item later today that has a public hearing. So if someone wants to speak on that later, they will have the opportunity. Before we move on, is there anyone present who did not sign up but would like to address council this evening? Okay. See no one, so we will now move on to the consent agenda, which consists of two items this evening. First, approval of the July 8th, 2025 Town Council minutes. And second, approval of resolution number 50, series 2025, resolution appointing the Town of Timnath Finance Committee members. Counselor, are there any requests to pull an item from the consent agenda? And I'll just ask, are there any members to be appointed to the Finance Committee that are present with us tonight? Okay, I'd just like to acknowledge them when they are. All right, then that being said, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any commentary? Very well. All those in favor of approving consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? The consent agenda passes 4-0. On to mayor and council reports, beginning with Councilmember Lake.
I have nothing to add.
Councilmember Holt. Mayor Pro Tem.
Nothing major to add. I just want to thank Lisa for her work on the finance committee. Obviously, we passed this, but I think we had three really good members. So thank you, Lisa, for your hard work on that.
And I will just thank everyone for coming out to movie night last Friday in Community Park. It was Toy Story. We had a good turnout. We had a wonderful costume contest there. So it was just a really, really fun evening. The weather for just a few moments looks like it was going to rain on us, but then it cleared right up and it was wonderful. So our next movie night is at a new location. It's at the Wild Wing Park, and that's Return of the Jedi, August 8th. Is that right? I think it
Yes.
is. I think it's
Yeah.
August 8th. So excellent. So hope to see everyone there. Anything else before we move on to staff reports? All right. Begin with finance, Director Gagliardi. Council, any questions? You know, Lisa, I did just have a quick question in terms of our sales tax revenue so far this year. I was pleased to see 8% over last year, and I'm just curious how that compares to our projection as we kind of look at some of the other projects we're about to take on.
Can you hear me? Okay. It exceeds our budgeted projections, and mainly it's due to online retailers. That area of growth is jumping up significantly.
Okay. And I know that when we did some of the projections on the rec center proposal, I think our projected sales tax growth was something like 3% as we projected it there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Council, anything else for finance? All right. Move on to Public Works, Director Stone.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to the report that's in your packet unless you have any questions.
Council? All right. Community Development, Director Robinson.
Following in line with my prior directors, I don't have anything else to add unless you have any questions.
No news is good news, I guess. Parks and Rec, Director Casal. All right. All right, I know you've got a big agenda item later, so we'll get into that. Do please pass along to the event staff just how wonderful of a job they did with movie night as always. But just they're incredible. So, thank you. All right, finally, police. Lieutenant Robbins, anything to share? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll now move on to our regular business items, beginning with item 7A, resolution number 51, series 2025, a resolution approving Northern Colorado water principles. Director Stone.
Yes, I was a little disappointed. I thought everybody was here for this item, so.
I did see, yeah, they skipped the building code too.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm here to present to you a resolution approving the Northern Colorado water principles. But before I get to that, I do want to go over the history of this. This was developed through the Northern Colorado Water Alliance. So that's a bi-monthly forum for discussing water-related issues in Northern Colorado. It's to develop an understanding of specific local water challenges and opportunities, as well as regional ones. So as you know, water, just like transportation, there's no borders. It does not know any of the borders that we have. So the makeup of the Water Alliance is 18 diverse member organizations, including municipalities like Timnath. And the representatives from those municipalities are usually executives, either the town manager, city managers, or utility level directors that help inform, policy, help with elected officials. Also water districts, usually the general managers of water districts are part of the group. Also counties and other special districts. The Water Alliance is convened by the Northern Colorado Water or the NOCO Foundation. And also we utilize the outside third-party facilitation of CDR Associates. So we do have a couple of members in the audience from the Alliance. I want to kind of let you know that they're here. They're here to show collaborative support. And also they're here to help answer questions since I've just been a member for about 1.5 years, and this has been going on for quite a while. So I do appreciate them coming out. So we do have Kristen Todd, if you want to wave. She is the president and CEO of the NOCO Foundation. And we also have our neighbor of Town of Windsor. We do have John Thornhill. He's the community development director for Town of Windsor. And I appreciate them coming tonight. So water, the importance of water. I was thinking about this afternoon. Other than air, I don't think there's anything else that you would need to necessitate to live or survive anything. So if you look at the photograph there, it's the Horsetooth Reservoir. So it does so many different things. Water that helps us. The importance for is drinking. Of course, we wouldn't be able to survive without drinking water. Putting out fires, if we have fire systems, we are agricultural based area here too. So we have agriculture, that the lifeblood of water. So there's and even recreation. So if you notice, there's also boating opportunities, and just like the Timnath Reservoir, the Numa Tallman's group also use that for different recreation. So water runs deep, as so to speak. So it's very important. So one of the things, like I said, the region's quality of life economy is based on water. So there are entities outside the region that have purchased water rights for their own use, which would be, put Northern Colorado supplies and users at risk. Also, water is like your base for your house. That's one of the biggest costs for housing is your water taps and your water use. So, more expensive water means affordability for housing is going to be a lot more too. And then, like I mentioned before, agricultural interest, it does provide, to make sure we use our resources, especially Colorado, semi-arid here, and we have to use our resources widely, not only for agriculture, municipal. So sometimes if we don't have those adequate resources, it does have a little conflict between residential, commercial, agricultural interests. So the group have been meeting for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years, talk about different principles. So some of the principles, the main principles I have up on the screen are that the Water Alliance recognized the economic, cultural, environmental value of water to Northern Colorado. Also, if you know, water rights in Colorado are very unique, and especially in this part of the country. I've been involved 30 years and I still don't even understand the water rights. It's very complicated. So it still upholds the water rights of individual water right owners under Colorado law. It also encourages regional collaboration and transparency. I think there's a lot of projects, reservoir projects, and even like the Cobb Lake treatment facility where a lot of the different water providers have gotten together and collaborated on solutions to help with the water situation. Also support investments in water system resiliency and agreements to benefit regional water users. So the resolution in your packet is pretty much focused on retaining water for local beneficial use in Northern Colorado, because like I said, we could use it here. So we want to retain it for the use for all those different uses. So the whereas statements outline the importance of water in the context of the work. And then at the end, of course, is the resolve statement. So what do? We talk about these water principles. So what is the effect moving forward? So basically, it's just resolved for 2 major goals. The first one is to discourage the further transfer of water outside the region. And I know there was a lot of debate on this. That's probably why it took a long time. There was, like I said, with all the different stakeholders, which is great. You get viewpoints from all different viewpoints, the districts and so forth. So this was one of the big things at the end that was hammered out, because before the language was opposing, that would oppose the further transfer of water. So a group felt that was a little bit too strong, but discourage would be something that the whole group was comfortable with, agree with. And then also, if that does happen, then the seek appropriate mitigation to offset the impacts of transfers that do occur outside of the region. So that would be similar to, like, when you do a traffic impact study or economic study, you see what the impacts are of that water leaving the region, which could be very significant. So this would be something, again, this is at the high level right now, policy development. Things later could be developed later, talking about things like that. But right now, it's just a resolution that everybody's agreement on these principles. And it also that these entities would seek appropriate mitigation to offset those. So basically, this would demonstrate commitment to regional water security, economy, and quality of life. So as far as the analysis of the recommendation, the advantages for Timnath would be that it positions the town as an active regional partner in protecting local water resources. It reinforces the town's water security and resiliency goals. And it supports the continued economic development, agricultural vitality, and high quality of life here in Timnath and Northern Colorado. As far as disadvantages, none, I can't think of any disadvantages really from these. The resolution is non-binding. It does not alter existing water rights or agreements at this time. It's just pretty much saying these are principles all the entities agree on. Financial implications are none directly associated with just adopting this resolution. So if there is any future water policy actions that have financial considerations, those would be brought to council and probably all the other members too, especially if it's a regional type effort. So that would be down the line if there was any financial implications. So staff has looked at this, and we recommend that the approval of the proposed town resolution. And the resolution is very similar. Basically, we just copied what the NOCO Water Alliance resolution was. That resolution is so all the entities could sign it. So you have one document signed by all the entities that gives a little bit more strength. So part of the resolution the town has that you then authorized Aaron to, I think it's pretty much finalized. I don't think we've changed any. I know there was a meeting last Friday we met, but I don't think there's been any changes in the resolution. So it should be almost verbatim. So this would allow Aaron to sign that with the other jurisdictions that they're going to in the next, this month and next month. So with that, do you have any questions?
Council questions? Director Stone, I am wondering about the principle of water adequacy. And I know some of our neighboring jurisdictions have enacted policies for new development to essentially ensure that before a development occurs, that they have to prove that there's water adequacy. We've had conversations about that repeatedly, and kind of thought that we had a process in place to ensure that. But then last summer, we ended up with a water shortage. Of course, the town doesn't control any of our water providers. But I'm curious, has this group broached or discussed water adequacy in terms of the region and how that should be handled?
So I'll have to defer that one. I know we've been working the last year and a half on these principles. I'll let either Kristen or maybe John help me answer that one. Oh,
The button.
there you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
If you look in the principles, it does state that each entity is still, in charge of their own destiny when it comes to water supply, water adequacy, dedications, water efficiency plans, all those things. So we haven't really dived into a lot other than the fact that we want to keep water up in this region. So, we're all still competing for that resource, but we don't want that resource to leave. So it hasn't been brought up a lot. It might be brought up in the future, but also one of the main items for this group when we first got together was can we actually operate our systems more efficiently? And are there times where we can get together and maybe partner up and make those systems run a little bit better? And those things have occurred in several instances. So it's a good question, though.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Council, any other questions on this? Okay. At this point, does anyone have a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 51, series 2025, a resolution approving Northern Colorado water principles.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion beginning with Councilmember Lake.
No comments.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I'll definitely be in voting in favor of this resolution. I definitely think collaboration on water in Northern Colorado is essential, especially for sustainability and affordability that we talk about a lot up here as council. So I think that that's going to be huge. I think a lot of these principles kind of match our values. So I appreciate, Justin, you bringing this forward, and I appreciate this alliance bringing it forward. As a town, I think we should continue to take steps to put water as a top priority, kind of what you mentioned, Mayor. We talk a lot about home prices, and I think you brought this up, Justin, like what we're spending money on now, we're fighting on all fronts, and water is going to be one of them. So I think putting these priorities and keeping water here is going to be important. So I will be voting in favor of this.
Councilmember Holt?
Yeah, I agree. And water is a hot topic up here. I didn't realize until I ran for council how much of a hot topic water is. But I think the mayor hit the nail on the head. We don't control our own water, and we do rely on several other sources. So any alliance that brings that top of mind together, best practices, how we can work together, how we can simplify things, I'll be in complete support of. And just again, the principles align with us and keeping, these organizations. NOCO Foundation's a phenomenal organization to be, involved in this. Windsor, thanks for coming over to the cool side of the road too. So we appreciate your guys' help too. So yeah, any collaboration to keep water up this way when we have, pipelines funneling it 40, 50 miles down south. So yeah, complete support.
Yeah. I also support the principles here. Water is a complex matter. And it's not easy. But this council, I think, has shown a particular dedication to being mindful to it. We've had discussions about non-potable, potable systems and what changes can be made there. We've had discussions on conservation. We've certainly had discussions about ensuring the future water sustainability of Timnath, including, do we have adequate access to water to responsibly grow? So, it is a regional problem, and I appreciate y'all bringing this forward, so I will also support it. Very well. Any other comments? All right. All those in favor of the resolution approving Northern Colorado water principles signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? It passes 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Todd. Thanks, sir. Appreciate you being here. On to item 7B, public opinion survey results related to the Timnath Community Rec Center. Director Excel.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm happy to provide, have Beyond Your Base presenting to you guys tonight to share with you the findings of a public opinion poll concerning the potential rec center for the town of Timnath. Beyond Your Base was hired a few months back, and they kind of helped us with getting the information out, making sure our residents were informed of what we were up to with the community recreation center. And so I'm happy to introduce Skylar. And Skylar is with Beyond Your Base, and he'll take us through the results.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you, council. My name is Skylar White, and Paul Hanley and I from Beyond Your Base are here to present the results of the public opinion survey about a recreation center and a sales and use tax to fund that recreation center. So we used three methods of response collection for this survey. We used a mail survey, we used text messaging, and we used digital website and social media to collect responses. We collected over 1,000 responses to this survey, 1,095 to be exact, representing a 30% response rate of all registered voter households in Timnath. This is the highest response rate I've had with a survey that I've been involved with, and is quite a testament to the involvement of Timnath citizens in their community. We sent a mail survey with background info on the project to 3,718 registered voter households on June 4th. And that survey had a QR code on it that people could scan to take online. We sent a text message with a link to the survey to 4,896 voters on June 18th and ran digital ads on websites and social media between June 4th and 11th. 95% of survey respondents responded that they are likely voters for the November 4th election. 76% responded that they had heard a lot or some about the proposal through the public engagement efforts that Tom was mentioning. 74% responded that they are very or somewhat confident in the town to spend funds from a voter-approved sales and use tax wisely, against 21% saying not at all or not very confident, 5% saying don't know, 1% no response. 56% were not concerned about the proposed 1.25 sales and use tax, equating to 12.5 cents on applicable $10 purchases in terms of the impact on their budget, compared with 19% responding extremely or very concerned. If a local election were held today, would you vote yes in favor of or no to oppose the following funding proposal? Shall town of Timnath taxes be increased $9 million in the first full fiscal year, and by such additional amounts as are generated annually thereafter for the purpose of designing, financing, acquiring, constructing, improving, equipping, operating, and maintaining a recreation center from the imposition of an additional sales and use tax of 1.25%. Such tax increase to begin on January 1st, 2026, and continue until December 31st, 2056, at which time such additional sales and use tax shall be reduced to a maximum of 0.25%. 70% say yes, 43% say definitely yes, 22% say no, with 14% responding definitely no, and 9% responding don't know or no answer. And again, that sample size was 1,095 responses. Would you be more or less likely to support the Timnath Recreation Center proposal, knowing that approximately 85% of shoppers at the town's two big box stores live outside of Timnath and would help fund the proposed project through the potential sales tax? 75% more likely, 5% less likely. Women supported the measure at a slightly higher rate and opposed it at a slightly lower rate than men, which is very normal for all sorts of tax proposals, whether they be bond or sales tax or mill levies, etc. And the sample size was a little underrepresented on those 75 and older, but there was support above 50% among every age group, except for those 75 and older. This is a very young town, and there's strong bases of support in every demographic that we polled, except for this one, which could be slightly off again, just because there was a 6% response rate for the 75 and older demographic compared with a 10% expected likely voter turnout from the 75 and older group in a November election. There was support above 50% for those who do not have school-age children, and higher levels of support for anyone with school-age children, no matter what age. There was bipartisan support with at least 70% support from everyone identifying with one of the major parties or unaffiliated, 84% support from Democrats. We asked people to rate how big of a priority, on a scale of 1 to 5, how big of a priority is each of these spaces for a potential indoor recreation space. And it really broke out into 3, if not maybe 4 tiers of support. In rank order from top to bottom, a fitness room with cardio, circuit training, and weight training equipment was the most popular part of the proposal. A gym with 3 multi-sport courts for basketball, volleyball, and pickleball, second. A leisure and activity pool with a 0 depth entry, lazy river, water slide, and spray features was third. Elevated multi-lane walk jog track, fourth. And then about 12 points below that, so there's a bit of a gap from that to the next one. A multi-use activity gym with flexible indoor turf for youth activities, sports, and more, 29%. Group fitness and dance studios, 26. Warm water therapy pool with wide entry stairs and a separate 15-person whirlpool and spa. And then a further drop in terms of the priority from that would be an indoor playground and short-term childcare watch area, a competition lap lane pool with 8 lanes, diving board, and spectator seating, outdoor fitness and training areas, and then some of the least popular items were a patio and gathering space with fire pits, rental party rooms, classrooms, and other multi-use spaces, a senior adult lounge, a dividable 240-person event hall with access to a catering kitchen, and a game room. So I want to point out that even though there was lower support for this space, this event hall space, community events, when we polled the most popular programs and activities as opposed to spaces, was something that that people responded to as being in the top 10 of popularity. These check marks, if you're having trouble reading the chart, show in descending order the level of popularity of the proposed programs and activities, from walking, jogging, group fitness, yoga, open gym, pickleball, health and wellness classes, swim lessons, personal training, summer camps, and community events would be the most popular programs that people identified. So in summary, there's solid support for the proposal as it stands now, with 70% saying that yes, they would support a 1.25 sales and use tax increase, 22% responding no. There's strong awareness of the proposal in the community. 76% had heard a lot or some about it. There's a high level of trust in the town, as Mayor was alluding to with his swearing in statements. 74% trust the town's use of funds. And there's limited concern about the impact of the tax on families and personal budgets, with 50% saying not very concerned. And that is the summary of the results, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have about the survey.
Thank you, Mr. White. Council questions? Mayor Pro Tem.
Can you go back to the slide? One more. So I guess I just want to understand the tier ranking here. Because Tom, these came from our first results, and then they're ranked. Does this, I guess I want to understand what these mean, because we've now looked at this several times in terms of tiers and how these will be used maybe, and how this may affect pricing. I know that I've got several questions here, but can we talk me through this and where we got to this first and what this means for what we're looking at for the rec center?
So there's some discrepancies from the initial survey with the Post Master Plan with what we have here. I can say that some of this stuff on here, like pool party rooms and classrooms and dividable 200 events hall, will be crucial for programming to create all those programmings that were on that list. And so, trying to get it as multifaceted as we can, but like I said, there is some discrepancies because the competition lap pool was second in the Post Master Plan survey, and that's why we went that route versus this one where it's not as important. The Post Master Plan was a wider net versus this one, which was very targeted to our registered voters. And so I think this is all very good information, but some of it, I think maybe just to do a little bit more communicating of why we have some of these things, like a pool party room. Those things will be packed on the weekends with birthday parties like crazy. That's a pretty popular thing for community recreation centers. So I don't know if that answered the question, but
so if we move forward, would we do another round of this, or like if the ballot measure were to pass, like how do you? Because this seemed, to your point, the lap pool, which is a pretty big part of the rec center and a pretty big expense, as I understand it.
If we get to the design phase, we can actually have some more open concepts once we get to the design phase, if we get to that point. So at this point, what we were looking for is a recommendation whether to move to the next step, which was to give us permission to put together some bond language for council to approve to get it on the November ballot. But we can definitely, during the design phase, open it back up to the public as part of the RFP.
Okay. Perfect. Sorry, I gotta gather my thoughts. Do you want to ask questions, Mayor? Do you have any questions?
Sure, I can jump in. We tested some specific language here in terms of the proposal. And I think it's relatively close to what we likely want to use. But I noted the language here has a start date for the sales tax and use tax and an end date where it drops off. And we had some discussions about kind of similar to what Windsor did. Ideally, we pay this off early based on the fact that all of our projections have been extremely conservative. Maybe this is a question for Carolyn. Is that something that we would want to look at modifying this language that has it will drop off at December 31st, 2056, or sooner if paid off? Because that is something that we haven't had a lot of concerns raised, but that is one of the concerns is kind of how are we going to make sure you're not going to use this money for something else? How are you going to make sure that we don't keep paying for it once it's been paid off?
Yeah, no problem. We did work with bond counsel on this language, and it was, reviewed by finance, by the Parks and Rec Department, and by myself, and by bond counsel before, but this is only a draft and a proposal. So this is absolutely an appropriate time to provide feedback like that. And that's something we can look at. And this is the voter authorization doesn't bind you then to keep it at that level. Well, one of the things we did is the proposed language limits it to a recreation center. And as you'll see, after the 30 years, it still can keep a quarter cents. So the thought was we can still generate some operation and maintenance revenue, but the thought was that, it would be kind of limited to a 30-year bond. But should that bond be paid off, then it would be, I think that the language would allow us to end the mill levy, to drop it earlier, but we will look at that before we bring it back to council.
Yeah, and obviously this has strong support. We don't want to take that as a given. But, if we can, I think, put in some language that guarantees that, yeah, once you've gotten what you've voted for, we're not going to keep collecting the money. I think that might improve support even more. Other questions?
I'll agree with you. I think that goes with, the overall consensus of transparency, right? The whole point of this tax is to accomplish a much needed add-on to our town, which is a rec center, but that we're not trying to abuse the tax in order to keep going in other directions. So if that, just brings transparency to that, once it's paid, it's paid and it will drop, and we're doing it for this one reason. So, yeah.
So I think what the staff needs from us is direction as to whether or not they should come back to us with a specific proposal with proposed ballot language that we would then vote either to put it on the November ballot or not. So I don't think we need a formal vote today, but I think just kind of a general, where are people at? Would we like to see that proposal move forward, or should we call it quits? So thoughts on that?
In my opinion, the numbers clearly show that there is support to at least move it forward.
Yeah, I would agree. And then just take some of those ideas we threw out on the rewording of it, bring back that to us. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Yeah, obviously I've been a proponent of this for a long time, but at movie night, I did my own informal survey. I basically said, hey, on Tuesday, council has to decide, should we move this forward in terms of preparing something to put on the ballot measure? And I asked folks, well, what do you think? Is this something we should do? And overwhelming roar from the crowd in support. So I know it's not as scientific as what Mr. White has done.
Dressed as Buzz Lightyear.
I was not. The winning costume was Slinky Dog, by the way. And it was awesome. So yeah, I think if we don't move this forward, we're going to have a lot to answer for, quite honestly. Okay. Tom, Aaron, Carolyn, do you have what you need from us?
Yes.
Okay. What is our timeline? What is our deadline to pass something to get it on the ballot?
Yeah, we'll bring that. It'll be 2 readings, so it'll be the next 2 meetings. We'll take care of that next month.
Great. All right. Thank you all. Mr. White, thank you. Really appreciate it. We'll move on to item 7C, resolution number 52, series 2025, a resolution approving the addition of a communications position. Adams, Director, or Town Manager Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I would also just add, we have Kim Newcomer on Zoom if you have any questions that would go her direction. But tonight before you is a resolution that would
really just changed timing. So as part of the budget year we're currently living in that you adopted last year, we contemplated bringing in-house our communications as of January 1, 2026. The Slate team has experienced some turnover specific to the position that worked most closely with the town. And so in discussions with Kim, we thought this might be a time to just accelerate that plan. And so instead of hiring for January 1 of 26, to maybe move that time frame up versus Slate hiring a new person who's not familiar with Timnath and having to learn really the things that are happening in the town and getting them up to speed would feel a little bit like lost time. As you can see on the slide there, that would reduce to some extent the reliance on Slate and therefore the expenditures there. We would anticipate no more than 36,000 allocated, 36,259, I should say, allocated for the rest of the fiscal year for this position because of some of those savings we would anticipate. And so with approval tonight, the staff would take that as a direction to go ahead and post that job. Could be as soon as this week, assuming it were to go through tonight. So in short, it's really just an acceleration of that based on the circumstances of some turnover with Team Slate. With that, between myself, Kim, and Lisa, we're happy to answer any questions you might have. Questions?
Yep. As far as ongoing between now and filling, no issues there. Slate is able to handle that for the, and then bringing it in-house, I guess the benefit of having that in-house versus Slate, quicker time response, maybe shed some light on that.
Yeah, great question, Jeremy. Yeah, so Slate will continue to help us, especially in the interim. I should have probably mentioned that. The expectation is that they would work with this new person to sort of show them the ropes. And so they'll continue in that role, certainly. As we go in-house, it'll just ultimately mean more hours and availability to staff versus the consultant route. There's some efficiencies that come with that. And I think there's also some benefit to having somebody who would routinely be in the building versus remote help. And I would want to add that Slate has been an excellent partner for and with us. And it would be our expectation that we would probably continue the relationship with Slate in a lesser capacity, focusing less on the day-to-day things that this anticipated position would work toward, and working with some of those bigger, higher level things. Especially, it's often difficult to replace a team with various skills with a single individual. That's not necessarily a fair expectation. And so I think there will continue to be a relationship with Slate, just maybe at a smaller scale, that this person could help fill the gap.
Excellent. Thank you.
Was it 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, Aaron, where we kind of got the pulse back from the community? And one of the things that our community said about us was that we communicate very well. So I think Slate has helped us in that process, and so I don't want to go backwards in this. And so, do you have any concerns moving this position forward in any way that we might move backwards? Because since I've been on council and I've lived in Timnath, coming up on 8 years, the town has done a great job and we've really moved forward. So do you see any concerns here?
That's a great question, Luke. Really, I don't. I think having Slate help to make the transition and knowing that they'll still have a relationship to the town of Timnath, and I like to think we'll continue a streak of really a lot of good hires of late. Find an excellent person here. So I certainly see maintaining and maybe even improving that level of service.
Yeah, and I really like what you said, where it was Slate does a lot, and I really appreciate the work they do. And so I think being able to replace that entire team with one person is not reasonable. So I hope you know that as the manager, and I hope town staff knows that, because they do, again, a really great job, and I think we're proactive in our approach. So I don't want to lose that as a town with our communication with residents. So I'll definitely support this type of transition, but I hope that we can continue to still be proactive and use Kim in that way, or Kim and the team, I guess it is. So.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, I asked town managers kind of a similar thing privately. But you know, when this proposal came up, you know, my question was, things are going so well right now. Uh, why, uh, why stop a good thing, right? And I think Aaron provided some good context for that. The truth is, we're growing, and this is something that we need to take on at some point. And I think that the timing now does make sense. And Aaron, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but certainly this is one that I feel like, ooh, we got to do it, but we got a good thing going.
I don't disagree with that at all, but I do think, for me, what I think about is what's happened just in the last couple of years. We literally didn't have a parks department at all. And now they're one of our heaviest users, especially in the context of the rec center and, beyond your basis here. And they're helping us from that standpoint. But it's just a fundamentally different organization than it was even 4 years ago when I got here. We've literally added departments that didn't exist. And so our need for communication, ultimately, I think to keep that high level of standard, this is the natural path forward. Slate's done an awesome job for us. As I mentioned, we want to continue that relationship. At some point, it's just no longer tenable as consultants to maintain that level. And so I think the bigger concern is if we continue, it will continue to put strain onto Slate, and they will ultimately end up having to staff up just for Timnath. When they're hiring full-time employees specifically on our behalf, that usually is a good indicator that we could be doing that ourselves. And so, I think we've worked and had a great relationship with Slate. We've all kind of talked about this, and the results sort of speak for themselves. I anticipate that continues and that they're able to help us, especially in planning and taking on special projects where they have those areas of expertise. So I think it's onward and upward from here.
And Kim, I know you're out there in cyberspace. Anything that council ought to be asking you?
I'm not sure if you all can hear and see me right now, but I will just say, first and foremost, thank you so much for the kind words. We have absolutely loved working with Timnath over the last several years. And I think Aaron is absolutely correct. This is sort of a natural progression. And we've been fortunate enough to walk other communities through this exact path, where we are there to help you in the beginning. We grow the communications program, and then it just naturally gets to the point where it requires a full-time person to manage. I think you all know us well enough. When I say this, you know that I'm not full of it. We would never leave you high and dry. Whatever you need us to do to support and train this position and person, we are invested in the success of Timnath, whether we're a part of it or not. And so I feel very confident that we'll find a wonderful person to support this team. And I am hopeful that Slate gets to be a part of supporting this program from now to the end of this year and beyond.
Thank you, Kim. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions? Okay. Then is there a motion to approve the resolution approving the addition of a communications position?
I put forward a motion to approve the addition of the communication specialist job.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, very well. Discussion beginning with Councilmember Holt.
No, I think this, Aaron, you said it right. I mean, falls in line with bringing in events, Parks and Rec, the whole 9 yards. I think Slate has knocked it out of the park and will continue to do that for us. But having the quick response, having somebody in our communications department here every day, walking side by side with the staff, I think is huge too. So yeah, I'm in full support of it.
Yeah. I go back to a conversation town manager and I had. Timnath is growing up quickly. So I will definitely be in support of this position, and had a conversation with a staff member at the July 4th event, and they said, I'm not going to call this person out, but they said, we were really, really fortunate to get, guess I'll just call it out, that we were really fortunate to get Tom here. And they said, I wouldn't want to work for anybody but Tom now. And so I think that it's hard and we're growing up, but we've done a really great job here in Timnath. And so I go into these positions, it's will be hard and maybe we'll stumble a little bit, but these type of positions, to Councilman Holt's point, is necessary. To your point, Aaron, is necessary. So I think I appreciate you guys bringing this forward, and I'll support it.
Councilman Lake? Timnath has a very strong brand, and that's directly attributable to the great work of Slate. So Kim and Angela specifically, thank you both for all you've done to get us here. You are one of many pieces that really have helped us build trust in the community. I, in my day life, have been involved in the hiring of either 5 or 6 communications managers or directors. Some of those have been really great hires, and some of those have fallen flat. So Aaron, go find us a great one. But yeah, I look forward to bringing this in-house. It is a bit of a leap, but we're ready for it, and it makes sense. And I really do appreciate Kim saying, even though it's gonna cost us some money this year, the right thing to do is to do this transition now. So, Slate has just built such credibility with the town that I appreciate that honesty. So, anything else? All right, all those in favor of the resolution approving the addition of a communications position signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? 4-0, it passes. We will now move on to our single public hearing item of the evening, which is Ordinance 11, Series 2025, an ordinance adopting the 2024 International Fire Code. As with all public hearings, we'll have a presentation. There's not an applicant here, but after that, we'll solicit public comment before moving on to questions and eventually calling of the question. So with that, I will turn it over to Director Robinson.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Tonight is ordinance number 11, Series 2025, an ordinance adopting the 2024 International Fire Code. I'm just going to give a few high-level comments. Tonight we have Chief McGaffin here to answer any question from Poudre Fire District, so appreciate him helping me out tonight. With that, I will just, again, provide some high-level background about the process. So again, PFA recommended that the Timnath adopt the International Fire Code for 2024. It's a model ordinance that communities are able to look at and amend various aspects of that code. Town council has done this in the past. We've done it through reference. Last code was 2021 International Fire Code. In 2024, PFA engaged various stakeholders to review the new code. They made certain recommendations. The primary goal of that process was to make as few changes as possible, mostly focusing on local needs and interests to meet our community. With that, this is just an outline of some of the steps that they took to bring the 2024 code amendment before you tonight. So they had a fire prevention bureau that reviewed the code in 2021, did the new changes in 2024. They also looked at fire code review committee locally to review these changes. The Poudre Valley Fire Authority Board approved those changes in February of 2024. With that, locally, the local jurisdictions, Larimer County, Fort Collins, and Timnath, we reviewed some of those changes. Some of those changes have been reviewed and approved both by the PFA board, and the city of Fort Collins just recently adopted those changes. Larimer County is considering to adopt these changes, and those changes are before you tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief McGaffin if he has any additional statements and questions for that. I know there's just like the work session we had this evening about the building code, this is a very complex code with a lot of amendments and changes, and turn it over to our technical expert to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Hello, council. Thank you, Scott, for all your help on this too, walking us through this process. So some of the things that I would just want to reiterate on this is with the technology changes that happen, like lithium ion batteries and storage of those, the 2021 code doesn't address that. So I can't enforce storage on lithium ion batteries, but with the adoption of the new code, I can enforce storage. And so there's many things in the code that we were able to write out of the original amendments from 2021 because it's now addressed in code. So it's a very strong code. The 12 member stakeholders that went through this with us included all 3 building officials that we work with, big entities such as Poudre School District had representation, CSU had representation, and then multiple people who were professionals in these different areas, such as business owners that own sprinkler companies and developers and things like that. So this is not by any means my code. This is a code that's represented by our community, and this is the decisions that they like to see. And it is to do what's best for them. Life safety, fire safety, that's what we're out to do. And so I'm very proud of what we've come up with. And as mentioned, City of Fort Collins has adopted. It's in the county commissioner's office now, so we're just waiting through the date lines and the processes to get through that. So I'm more than willing to take any questions if anybody has anything that they're concerned of or need clarification on.
Great. Thank you, Chief, so much for being here. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll put out the call now for public comment, and then we'll get to questions after that. At least earlier, I don't believe anyone has signed up for public comment. Has that changed? Okay. Then I will ask now, is there anyone present who would like to address council on this proposal? Yes, sir. If you'll Yeah, if I get you to come up to the podium so that everyone can hear you. And then there's a little single button now. We're down to 1 button on the mic. If you'll push that, that'll activate the mic.
How's that?
Perfect. If you could give your name and address for the
Frank Holsworth, live on Main Street, Timnath, Fairview Village. Just moved in just over a year ago. 30 years as a builder, small-time developer and whatnot. I've run into various codes, building codes, plumbing codes, fire codes, et cetera, et cetera. And I think this is excellent what you guys are talking about. I have had some municipalities in the past, for instance, Greeley, who amended their fire code in one specific area. And I'm not asking you to make or even consider this change. I'm asking about the responsiveness to when things come up, the ability and willingness to look at and modify instead of a great big standard. And what I'm talking about as an example, 5/8 fire rock required with attached garages between the garage and the living space. Greeley said 1/2 inch is fine because they went back and looked and they could see no fire, no house fire that had resulted in an increase in damages. 5/8 versus 1/2 inch. Okay, might seem like a really minor thing, but it's an opportunity to create certain efficiencies on the builder's side at a time when building costs are going up, a great portion of that due to materials. So I'm just wondering about the ability, instead of just we have this big, huge overriding policy, law, whatever you want to call it, and responsiveness and willingness to look at when things like that are brought up at that level.
Great.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you sharing your comments there. Anyone present who would like to address council on this topic? Okay, seeing none, I will close comment and ask council if there are any questions. I know one specific example was given there, but I didn't see in there that sheetrock depth is anything that we are amending in this proposal. Is that right?
To the best of my knowledge, no, that would probably fall under the building code, but
Yeah, that would be under the building code, not the fire code. And we do have alternative means and methods for things when we run into random things that we can do through policy and procedures through the Poudre Fire Authority.
And I think during the work session tonight, the building official, Mr. Weber, did talk about their 2024 building code does have more flexibility for those interpretations. So that's something that we could follow up with him on regarding the thickness of the drywall, at least I believe in regards to the garage and the residential space.
Any other questions about the proposed changes? I will just make one comment. I read through all the proposed changes. What might be helpful in the future is to get a red line version to see what the current code says and then what the new proposal is, as opposed to having to go to the current code and look it up.
Yeah, Mayor, we did receive that. It's code's pretty long and thorough. And so what was provided, there were some highlights on the things that were changed. So I actually do have that. I'm happy to follow up with that version if that's something you're interested to do. But I reviewing it's kind of a hot mess if you look at all the changes. So there were highlighted sections that were very clearly highlighted what changed, and I'm happy to provide that information.
Yeah, right. And, for that sort of thing in the future, if we don't want to publish it in the packet, but we want to publish a link for those who are extra curious or something, that might be a good way to do that. Very well, then. Is there a motion to approve an ordinance adopting the 2024 International Fire Code?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilmember Lake? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah. Thank you for bringing this forward. I'm definitely going to vote in favor of it. I appreciate bringing safety standards forward to protect our residents. So I will be voting in favor of it.
Councilmember Holt?
Yeah, I mean, as a son-in-law to a former chief and the New Jersey State Firefighters Association secretary, I get reminded every day of the things that could burn anything down. So any changes in collaboration that, especially the lithium-ion battery storage, things like that, being able to control that and manage that properly, full support and truly appreciate what you guys do.
Thank you. I've also reviewed the changes. Nothing struck me as concerning. Nothing struck me as unreasonably imposing, excessive costs on builders or things like that. And I, do appreciate the lithium ion. That absolutely is a new technology that creates a need to change the code. All right, all those in favor of approving the 2024 adopting the 2024 International Fire Code signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? All right, the fire code is adopted 4-0. We just have one item left on our agenda, which is a proposed executive session. And so at this time, I would ask, is there a motion to enter executive session pursuant to section 24(6), 402, 4B, and E CRS for conferences with an attorney for the town for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions related to the lawsuit between the Town of Timnath Trail LLC and for determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators regarding such lawsuit.
I move to approve executive sessions.
All right. Is there a second moving to executive session as described?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of moving to executive session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay? All right, we will move to executive session per a 4-0 vote. For anyone tuning in, when we return, all you should expect is adjournment. So we will move to executive session. Yeah, let's take a 3-minute break, and Councilmember Jenkins is going to join us. So I think we're actually going to be in the small room to patch him in.
Oh.
yeah, I don't think we've ever used it, so I'm really excited about this.
It says we'll be right back.
It's nice.
It's cool. I am impressed with the.
This doesn't work every time I'm pushing it.
Can you give a little sidebar?
Audio is coming through.